Hello, Eric, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Everything is good. How is Sweden?
It's great. Summer. It's not as warm as where you are, but it's still pretty good.
Well, that's good. Yeah, in Portugal, it's quite warm, to be honest.
Yeah, we were in Cordoba in Spain
Yeah,
last weekend, and I think it was almost 40 degrees.
crazy.
Yeah,
Even for us that live here, you know, we are used to the heat. Sometimes it's just too much.
yeah. There's no escaping.
No. Anyway, and before we talk about the new record from Eclipse, you guys played Portugal for the first time last year at the Milagro Metal Festival. How did it go, that first show here in Portugal?
It was great. It was well. We had a good time. I think we need to build the audience a bit more. People were like, "Ah, who are these guys?" But I think we need to play there much more than we do.
Yeah, it was a great show. I was there, and it was nice to finally see you guys play here.
Yeah,
And then actually, there was some people that knew the songs anyway, so that's a
yeah,
good sign.
that's good. Yeah, yeah. We always play Spain, but we never play Portugal, which is it's strange. But it's I don't know why. I don't know the reason why. But somehow Spain always want to book shows with Eclipse, but Portugal not so much.
Yeah, I think it has to do more with the promoters. I think it's the promoters here are either old school or old.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
it comes to, I don't know, it's hard, but they don't like to take chances, some of them. And those who like to take chances, they cannot afford sometimes to bring, good bands and proper bands. So,
Okay, yeah.
it's a
Yeah,
bit of,
it is hard being a promoter. You can win, you can earn a lot of money, but it's also very easy to lose a lot of money.
yeah. And
Yeah.
that's something people don't understand, because they just say, I want this band to play here. But where is the money for that?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, and especially nowadays when people buy tickets so late for festivals and shows, they buy it like the last week they buy the tickets,
in
which means
Portugal,
that a lot of festivals are closing and they have to cancel even before it happens.
yeah, in Portugal, we actually, for a long time, we had the habit of buying tickets on the day. You know?
Yeah.
Because I think it's something to do more with the 80s, 90s, where, some shows were canceled because people
Yep.
because people didn't understand that if you don't have enough ticket sales, the show is going to be canceled. And that happened a lot in Portugal. So people just decided to, I'll wait for the last couple days to buy a
Yeah.
ticket.
So yeah, they try to avoid the problem, but they create the problem.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
Megalomanium II. When did you guys start working on the songs for the album? Because the first one was, as good as it gets. I mean, you guys, when it comes to making music, you're probably one of the best
Thank
on
you very much.
planet.
Well, we did both. We did all the songs. We had all the songs written, and we split them in two. We were sitting in a bar in Sydney at an Australian tour, and Victor, Magnus, and myself, we were sitting there having a beer, just made two running orders of the songs. Like, let's put four singles on the first one, four singles on the second one, and then we just, you know, fill it up. And the funny thing, the singles, not all the singles turned out to be singles. Other songs that we didn't, in the demo stage turned out to be singles instead. So it was funny. But we had all the songs, and we wanted to make a double record because it was just such a stupid idea to make a double record. At a party at my house, I was putting on some music, some CD, and I pulled out Smashing Pumpkins. Melancholy and Infinite Sadness. It's a double record, right? And I thought, why? no one do double records anymore. They did it in the 90s and they did it in the 70s. So let's be stupid and make a double record. But instead of releasing it at the same time, we knew that that's going to be commercial suicide. So let's split it in like a year apart. But
Yeah.
they are recorded and they are written at the same time. So it's they are from the same period.
Okay. So you already had, so it was a very productive songwriting for the first, the first album. Now that's two records. So you guys were very productive when it came to writing songs, because if you had a double record ready.
And we had like 30 songs. So we had so many good songs. We're like, how can we even choose which songs is going to be on a record? So like, and I know for a fact that if you don't release, if you write songs and you don't release them, you never. I personally, I never go back and revisit songs. Very, very rarely that happens. It only happened once. We did that for Anthem on the previous record. That song was written for the album Wired, but I never liked the demo, so we kind of okay, let's skip this one. But then we revisited it at Megalomanium, the number one, and well, it turned out well. So yeah,
It's always fresh ideas for you when you start.
always fresh. Yeah, always fresh ideas. So it's I don't know why, but it's just if you don't do something with it, if you don't record it, you kind of lose interest in it because you as you are moving, you always how you want to write music and make songs it changes all the time. I don't want to make the same songs as we did 10 years ago. I have no interest in writing those exact same kind of songs because it's already been written. So I always move along. So if you have it's never happens that I would record like a 3, 4, 5 year old song. Never happens.
So you never keep like or do you keep like a backlog of riffs or melodies? Do you keep those, or you prefer start, from scratch? If it's a good idea, let's work on it. If it's not a good idea, throw it in a bin.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of the last situation. I throw it in the bin and just move along. And I think that's keeping it's always keeping it interesting. But I have in my phone, I have all these, riffs and small ideas that I sometimes put together sometimes, but I rarely even look at that. I had a phone fill. I must have had hundreds of song ideas in that one. And I was driving a go-kart and I had it in my pocket and I completely destroyed the phone. So all those ideas are completely gone. So there are hundreds of songs that I have no idea what it is, but they are gone.
So
And no backup.
so you could have had, the greatest riff ever and the greatest melody ever, and it's gone.
It was destroyed in a rental go-kart. But then I got a new phone, and then I put on like safety copy on the memos because
Yeah.
I was like, don't bother. I didn't bother on the previous one, and I kind of regret it.
Does it, when it comes to melodies and riffs, they can happen anywhere, any time of the day, or do you prefer to have like a specific time to put the, ideas together?
I usually it's like office hours writing because you know it's life. It's so much things to do, so I need to sit down, be focused, just write. But sometimes I think sometimes I just pick up the guitar in my living room, just having some morning coffee, and just all of a sudden this good great idea comes along. But I said a lot of it is just sitting down, working, trying to write a good song.
Does it take
So
time?
I don't sit and wait for inspiration with red wine and candles.
Does anyone get inspired by red wine and candles anyway?
I don't know. I think that's when people think about writing music, I think that's what people imagine it's going to be like. But real life is it's a lot of hours writing very bad songs, and then all of a sudden something good comes along. Sometimes you can spend a week and there's like zero good songs, and sometimes you write two great songs in one day. And I don't know why. And I think that's the beauty of it.
Yeah. And for these records, you wrote two songs at the same time. Do you remember which song was the quickest to, get done? When you got the idea and finished recording, and the opposite, and the longest one that you almost gave up or something.
Yeah, well, definitely on the first record, that's Anthem, as we wrote that already for Wired, and we spent a lot of hours getting that right. And on the new one, let me see the running order of it, and I will let you know. Hang
Oh,
on,
it's
give me
good
one second.
that you can remember that.
Yeah, I can't remember, but there's a lot of songs, right? But all these are like falling to my knees. I wrote that having in my sofa in the living room, right, just writing, sitting down, having coffee in the morning. I wrote that song like instant, and it sounded like it was not a hard rock song. It sounded more like a Ryan Adams, not Brian Adams, Ryan Adams song. It was more like a singer-songwriter song, but I really liked it. And I went later that day. I walked back in the studio and I did like a hard rock version of it, and it was like this is fun. It was a fun song, so that was a very quick one. And I think a lot of these songs are quick songs. Uh, I think the best songs always comes very easily.
Yeah.
When you struggle with a song, and then you can spend a lot of hours on like production or like fixing minor details, but the basic, like the skeleton of the basics of the song should be found quite easily. Because when if you're trying too hard, then you know it's not right.
Yeah.
You got to have flow. So I'd say most of these songs were written in flow.
Yeah. And
The ones who didn't have flow, they are not on the record.
well, it makes
It's
sense.
easy. Yeah.
Is it, on the song? I mean, you guys are like you in Sweden, you guys are perfect when it comes to melodies. I don't know, like a Swedish band, even black metal bands, they are good at making music in Sweden. But when you write, is the melody the most important part of the song? Because a melody can work in a heavy song, in an acoustic one, in a electronic music. Is
Yeah.
the melody key in the song when you write?
For me, absolutely. The melody and the rhythm of the melody and the melody is what drives the song. Without that, there's just guitar riffs and like even if you have the greatest guitar riff of all time, if you don't have it's got to be a song as well. So there's so many songs we've had with great riffs, but we can never make it into a proper good song because it turns out boring. But even with this simplest production, if you have a good melody with good rhythm, it's done. Then you have everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd say, yeah, of course we love the guitar riffs and all that stuff, but it's without the melodies, I don't think you have anything.
Yeah. And
And it sounds like an American band. They always have this. There's so much like not every American band, but they have all these like it's so yeah, everything is so awesome and cool, and they just overdo it with like power overdo it, but it's like there's no substance to it.
yeah.
Personally, I get bored with it instantly.
Yeah, but I think there is a difference to the European style of, let's say, rock to the American style. I
Yeah,
think we Europeans, and I'm not saying that all American bands are like that, but I think we appreciate a lot melody, but like in the US, I don't know what it is. It's sometimes I can give me any Swedish band any time of the day, and they'll write a great song and something that really sticks in your head. Like the American bands, it's just one of those that you listen, yeah, it's a good song, but it's forgettable. It's not
yeah.
memorable.
It's a lot of production, smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really think same. But of course, that not all American bands. Of course, there are a lot of great American bands, and there's a lot of shitty European bands as well. So
Yeah.
we both have this everything, right?
Yeah, I'm not saying that all European bands are great because there's some
No,
really bad ones out there.
yeah, exactly.
And you're very prolific songwriter, and you write for just not just Eclipse, but to you have other projects, and sometimes you write for other artists. When they ask you to write a song and you present a song, and they decide to change something, does that hurt you?
No, not at all. Usually, when people make changes, even if it's if I work as almost a full-time mixer. I mix records all the time, and I think all the time when people have ideas, it's usually a good one. Most people have that, especially good bands. They have good bands have good ideas, and sometimes and sometimes it's just for the worse, and it's like, oh no, don't do that. But you, in the situations I've been, I think most people just they like take it for what it is, and
Yeah.
they of course they do their own thing. It's the same thing with when but Ronnie Atkins with Nordic Union, the project I have with him and Wet. Jeff do his own twist of my melodies and the thing, and they make it their own. And I think that's how it should be.
Yeah. And you were talking about being a mixer, mixing records. We are in a digital era where you get plugins that emulate anything, like the old
Yeah.
cool, classics, whatever compressors and effects. Are you very much of a digital guy, or I see you have like the Marshall amps there behind you, so you must like some proper hardware stuff.
Yeah,
how do you like
but
the balance?
the mixing is 100% digital. No, I don't do any. I only do the analog thing going in, but the rest is I do all the plugins, only plugins, and I think it sounds great. And I think that if it's really hard to work on like old mixing desks now. They cost a lot. They're very expensive to run. They always break down, and people want to make as people are they with everything the digital, you can just make small changes all the time. Like and if you're mixing complete analog, it's like this is how the mix turned out, and there's like, can I have a half dB of more vocals? No, we can't because the mix is done, and you can't go back and like fix those small things. So people had to leave it for what it is. Now everyone want to change. Like, can you make the third tom hit in the second fill into the chorus a bit louder? It's like just like stupid things. So which has no relevance to the music at all. But they want to make all these every musician want to make all these minor changes, which as a mixer drives me insane as well. But because everyone is listening to their own instrument all the time. But that's another story. Yeah. So, but sure, long answer, but it's I'm digital. So yeah, here's
Nice.
the mixing desk, and I have the computers and the monitors, and I don't know, some big generics over there.
Very good.
It's very black. Oh, over there.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's
This
nice.
is I'm in the studio right now. This is my mixing room.
Do you have a go-to plugin, or a brand that I see Waves, there's a lot of people using Waves, but like Fab Filter as well as some very nice plugins. Do you have a go-to a brand or specific plugin that you like to use in every mix that you do?
I always mix. I said most of the mixing is done with Waves SSL, the newest SSL strip. That's it. 80% of all the EQ is done with that. But I have everything. I have Universal Audio and I use Fab Filter Pro Q3 all the
Yeah.
time. Love that one. I'll use that for mixing and mastering, and I use it for I have shitloads of plugins, but I only use a few because I like it. Like it's you know what to do with it. I go for I have like these are the reverbs I use, and if I want a room reverb, I just go for I have one, and sometimes and that usually works. And if you don't, I have always had like the same effects set up all the time, which makes it it's fast and it's easy. I know how it sounds, and even if I can try out 8 different delays, but it will still be just a delay, right? So instead of spending time on finding new stuff all the time, it's better to go with what works.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and with a live and playing live, do you go digital as well? Is it easier to, you know, we see the camper stuff that a lot of bands use these days to create their or to emulate their sound in the studio with the patches and stuff. What is your go-to live gear
We
normally?
go digital. Yeah, we are digital now. We did that. We moved early 2020. We stopped using amps, but in the studio it's always amps. Every single sound is amps. I think it sounds better. It gives more. It gives it more identity. I send my amps for modifications, and I'm really picky with guitar sounds and stuff. But live, it's when you go, especially when you play festivals, when you're not on your own tour, it's very hard to find a good sounding amp, and you have to mic it. There's no time for it, so it's better to go with you know live. People gotta be happy if they can hear the guitar at all. Sometimes how many how many times have you gone to concert? You can't hear the guitars, you can't hear the guitar solos or anything. It's
Yeah.
better to go with something simple, make it work, and make people hear what's actually played.
I remember going to back in the day, we're talking about 2000, 2001, or 2002. And I
Yeah,
remember seeing Royal Hunt play there with John West. And,
yeah,
you know, I couldn't hear the voice of John for most of the show. They didn't play that
yeah,
long. And it was one of those experiences that I was like,
yeah,
it ruined for me. I love the band so much, and not being able to hear his voice, especially John
yeah,
West's voice, it
yeah.
was heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's been I'm as same as you. We've seen so many concerts with so shitty sound, and how many guitar solos? Guitarist is playing a solo and you've never heard a note. It's just drums and noise all the time. So we with Eclipse we go for very simple setup. We have the Helix, the Line 6 Helix stomps.
Yeah,
Very simple. It's easy traveling. We can bring it as a carry-on luggage, which means we will never lose. We will always have our sound, and it sounds the same every night.
cool. Well, what was
Yeah,
the
miking a guitar amp, if you move the microphone 1 centimeter or to the side, it sounds completely different. It's like, it's so many details. With this, it's just a cable in. Here's your studio guitar sound right now.
especially if you're a perfectionist, if you like, if you know the sound, if you know your sound,
Mm.
if something is out of place, that must really piss you off.
Yeah, yeah. There's so many things that can go wrong, so this is easier. But it's well, I'm not a perfectionist live at all. It's like I just want need th I want as little technical problems as possible. It's more of that. But there's like playing guitar. I like never sit down playing guitar with my live sound. I always play guitar through amps because it sounds right, but it doesn't feel right. So it's more like a I always play with amps when I'm
Yeah.
home. So, mm.
Did you when you played live? What was the worst festival live show that ever happened to you? Where if anything could go wrong, everything did go wrong that day or night. Did it ever happen? Like a really bad show?
Yeah, we've had really not completely bad shows, but I remember we had backing tracks for keyboards and intros back in this must be 2008, and it was so hot. It was a festival in Sweden. It was the hottest day of the year, and we had the backing tracks from an iPad. and the iPad just before when we went on stage, it says thermal failure. And we never rehearsed for the eventual that like the intros wouldn't work. So we're like, how do we even start the songs? That was a good lesson. Like so now we know, if there's something wrong with the intro machine and stuff, like, okay, we just start a song like this. No one know how to do it. But back then we had no clues. We were like, everyone was just looking at each other like, what the fuck do we do now?
I remember there was, a band that I worked with, and they had the intro on the iPod, but the iPod just didn't work. The
Yeah.
whatever happened, and was 30 seconds before the band was due on stage, so they're like, what we do, and we're like, just go fucking old school,
Yeah.
start playing something and go for the song, and that's what happened. They realize that it's the intro is not going to play, so
No.
let's go.
Yeah.
Old school.
Yeah, well, it happens all the time, and sometimes there's like they have with the guitars with the wireless systems just stop working. At a festival, someone put on another system, and it's the same frequency, and there's a jam, and it's just go with it. It is what it is. It's just music. So
And
yeah,
with the album coming out in September, touring
yep.
plans. What are you guys going much on the road for this record as well?
We are starting gonna be a European tour, especially Germany in September. Well, there's festival the whole summer, but then there's gonna be a tour in September. Then we're going to America, and then we're going for another run in December. It's gonna be 4 dates in Spain. As far as I know, there's no date for Portugal yet, but there's more coming even next year. So the year is more or less fully booked for
That's good.
yeah, which is really good. And yeah, and we continue next year.
Very good.
We will not release a record for a long time now because we released two records in 1 year. So it's
Well, it's old school, back in the day, back in the 80s, that's what bands did. They release an album every year, but
yeah,
obviously it's different circumstances now anyway. So,
yeah,
back then they had to do that. And the other projects, you mentioned Nordic Union, W.E.T. Is there anything on the can for those projects or something
yeah.
that,
Wet is already a whole album is already done and recorded. It's completed. I think it was completed already in March, but because of the Eclipse releases, we had to postpone it to, I think it's going to be end of February.
okay.
Yeah, but it's well, I know it's easy to say the latest album is the best, but it's been some time now, and I think the Wet record is probably the best Wet record so far. I really like it. I really enjoy listening to it. It's more rock and roll. It's more rock than previously. It's cool. Cool. It's cool.
Cool. I'm looking forward to hear it. Erik, thank you very much for your time. All the best for Eclipse and all the other projects. As I said at the beginning, you probably are one of the best when it comes to write songs and proper melodies. I absolutely love listening to your records. So I'm looking forward for this one and whatever brings next from you, I'll be listening.
Thank you very
All right.
much.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, and I hope to see you soon. All right. Thank you.
All the best. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.